Hello everyone, welcome to the 10th part, and in today's video we are going to discuss some important points related to concrete curing and deshattering of formwork, and then we will also discuss few important tests for fresh concrete and hardened concrete. So these are very important. Today's points are very important when it comes to the interview questions or any sort of exams. So let's start with the first point for today's video. It's related to the curing time of RCC members for different type of cements. This curing time is categorized on the basis of the type of cement you are using in the RCC members. Like if you are using sulfur sulfate cement, super sulfate cement, super sulfate cement, then you need to do curing for 7 days. For ordinary Portland cement OPC, you need to do the curing for 10 days. But when you are mixing some sort of admixtures or minerals to the cement, then you need to do the curing for 14 days. Got it? So minimum curing time is required for super sulfate cement, and then ordinary Portland cement needs 10 days of curing. And when you are mixing minerals or admixtures to the cement, then you need to do the curing for 14 days. Got it? The next point is related to the deshattering period of RCC members. The deshattering period of formwork for the RCC members varies with the type of RCC member, like either it is column or it is slab, are the beams, or it also depends upon either it is vertical formwork or horizontal formwork, or it also depends upon the length of the span. Got it? So let's see. If your RCC member is column, walls, or vertical formwork, then you can remove the shuttering or formwork after 16 to 24 hours. Okay, when they are columns, walls, or vertical formwork. When soffit formwork to the slab, then the period is 3 days. When soffit to beam probes, then 7 days. And then for beams, which are whose beams those spanning up to 4.5 meters, that is 7 days. When the span is over 4.5 meters, that is 14 days. And for arches spanning up to 6 meters, 14 days, and arches spanning over 6 meters. When it is more than 6 meters, then you need to remove the formwork or shuttering after 21 days. Got it? So that means that for arches, we need to take more time as compared to the other members, RCC members. Got it? So these were the deshuttering periods for RCC members. So these points are very important. Either you are, especially when you are a site engineer, you must know the periods of deshuttering of different RCC components or members. So these lengths of spans are very important when it comes to beams and arches. Got it? So these were the important points for deshuttering period of RCC members. And the next point for today's discussion is about the concrete tests. Actually, when it comes to concrete testing, we do concrete testing on either fresh concrete, and sometimes we do testing on hardened concrete when concrete gets hard. So there are two types. When your concrete is fresh, we used to do three type of tests: slump test, compacting test, and VB test. These are three tests which we perform when the concrete is fresh. But when concrete is hardened, we do actually 5 type of tests. It depends either the tests we want to do are non-destructive or destructive. If they are destructive, Then for destructive tests, we do three tests: split cylinder test, flexural tension test, and compressive strength test. These three are destructive tests for hardened concrete, and non-destructive tests are rebound hammer test and pulse velocity test. These two are non-destructive tests for hardened concrete. For it, we can't do these tests for fresh concrete. These are the tests for hardened concrete. So this was actually the whole summary for concrete tests. Let's start with the fresh concrete tests. Tests on fresh concrete are three: slump test, compacting factor test, VB test. All these tests are used to find the workability of the concrete. Okay, and let's see the definitions of all these three tests. Slump test. A concrete slump test measures the consistency of the concrete base to see how easily the concrete will flow. Got it? And the test not only observes consistency between batches, but it also identifies defects in a mix. What is the advantage of this? This gives the operator a chance to amend the mix before it is poured on the site. Got it? This is actually most used concrete test on site, and the other advantage of this test is that it takes less time. So on the basis of test, you actually use to get four types of slumps: either true slump, either zero slump, either collapsed slump, or shear slump. And the second is the compacting factor test. Compacting factor test featured snipped form of the web. The compacting factor test is designed primarily for use in the laboratory, but it can also be used in the field. One difference is that slump test is used on a site and compacting factor test is used when you are doing the test in the laboratory, but it can also be used in the field too. It is more precise and sensitive than the slump test. Got it? Another important point is that the compacting factor test is more precise, but the disadvantage is that it takes more time as compared to the slump test, and is particularly useful for the concrete mixes of very low workability. When your concrete's workability is very low, then you can prefer compacting factor test, and normally used when concrete is to be compacted by vibrator. When concrete is compacted by vibrator, then you should prefer the compacting factor test to find out the workability of fresh concrete. And then the VB test carries out the relative efforts measured to change the mass of the concrete from a definite shape to the other. That is, as per the test, from the conical shape to the cylindrical shape by undergoing vibration process. The measurement of the effort is done by time measurement in seconds. Got it? So you can get the question like, in which test we use to consider the measurement of workability in seconds or by time. That test is VB test. Got it? So these were the definitions, and you can also see the images of the instruments or devices used for various tests. But our main point is that for fresh concrete, we use three different tests to find out the workability of concrete. Slump test is used on site, and when we need to find out the workability on urgent basis or in quick time, in short time, we will prefer slump test on field tests. But compaction factor test, we will prefer compaction factor test when the workability of concrete is very low, and then whenever your concrete is being compacted by vibrator, then you will prefer compacting factor test to find out the workability of fresh concrete. And this test is also particularly designed to be used in laboratory, but sometimes it can be used in on the field too. Got it? And the last one is VB test. In VB test, uh, the measurements of the workability are measured by time measurement in seconds. Got it? These were the differences, and I got a table too in which you can see the differences between these three methods. Whenever the degree of workability is very low, then we will prefer VB consistometer test. And when degree of workability is low, then we can use two methods, VB consistometer test or compacting factor test. When workability is medium, then you can use compacting factor test or slump test too. When workability is high, then you can use compaction factor test or slump test or flow test. But when the degree of workability is very high, then you can use flow test. There is another test uh, other than the three tests we have discussed, that is flow table test, and the fifth one is Cayley ball test apparatus too. So this test is rarely used for finding out the workability of concrete, but most of the time we use these three methods: slump test apparatus and compaction factor test and VB test. Got it? But when the degree of workability is way high, very high, then we will use this flow table test. Flow table test. Got it? So these were the differences and the preferences of the various tests. So this table and this relationship is showing that whenever your workability is very low, then you will prefer VB consistometer test. When the workability is high or very high, then you will use flow test. Got it? So these were the tests which we used for the fresh concrete. But when it comes to the hardened concrete, then we use two type of tests. One is non-destructive and other is destructive test. For non-destructive tests, we use two methods: rebound hammer test or ultrasonic pulse velocity test. This image is related to the rebound hammer test. As you can see that it is not actually destructing the concrete. From outside of the wall of the concrete, you can use this device, rebound hammer, to test out the concrete, to find out the quality of concrete. So this table is showing that average rebound numbers. If the average rebound number are greater than 40, that means that your quality of concrete is very good and the layer of the concrete is very hard. If the average rebound number is between 30 to 40, then the quality of concrete is good. If it is between 20 to 30, then it is fair. If it is less than 20, it is poor concrete. If it is zero, then you know it's delaminated concrete. And the second method, ultrasonic pulse velocity method, this is the device you can see in the image, in which we use pulse velocity to find out the concrete quality or grading of the concrete. And this table is showing the values. If the value of the pulse velocity is above 4.5, then the grading of concrete or quality of concrete is excellent. If it is between 3.5 to 4.5, then that is good. If it is between 3 to 3.5, its quality is medium. And then if it is below, the pulse velocity is below 3, then that concrete quality is doubtful. Got it? So these were important point is that these are non-destructive tests. And when it comes to destructive tests, there are three methods in which we do the destructive test of the hardened concrete samples, like we used to do in the compressive strength test, in compressive strength machine, and then flexural test, and then split tensile strength test. These three are destructive tests for hardened concrete. So today's video was very important. Either you are a site engineer, you need to know all these things, and if you are going for a test or interview, these are actually important points you need to remember and you need to know. So you need to know the names of these tests. When it comes to hardened concrete test, you must know the names of non-destructive test and destructive tests. And then when your concrete is fresh, you have to do these three tests to find out the workability. And you can also know from this table that which test is good for what kind of the degree of the workability of concrete. So it depends upon the degree of workability of concrete. So on the basis of degree of workability of concrete, you can give preference to the tests among these 5 tests for fresh concretes. And the other point we discussed was the deshuttering period of RCC members and the curing time for RCC members. So these were the points which we were supposed to discuss for today's video. So that's it for today's video. See you guys in next video with more important points. Thank you. Till then, goodbye.